Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Dushyant, your host, and welcome back to Let's Talk Arsenal. And today we'll be doing a Burnley versus Arsenal match preview with with a expert that I have found from Twitter, and his name is Bruce. That he'll be joining us later on in the stream and giving his opinions and predictions and predicted lineup and all that stuff. So kindly just wait a few minutes and he'll be joining us. But let's talk about Arsenal and the Burnley stuff. And the match is going to be a tough one for Arsenal because the Burnley team is, as we all know it, they'll be physical, they'll be tough, they'll be, aerial, they'll be, physically challenging and all that stuff. And the Arteta press conference that came in yesterday was quite interesting because a lot of stuff was asked from Arteta, and he responded kindly to all the allegations and refused them because he said that no player like Bernd Leno hasn't done anything wrong, and he isn't, he said that he wasn't misbehaving in the training, and all that stuff that was coming from other places and all that stuff was just false, and none of that stuff was true, so he refused that treatment as well. So everything is cool, and he was asked about Lacazette, and he said that Lacazette is going to be involved in the training, for Arsenal going forward, and he will be the crucial player for Arsenal going forward, and he will make sure that Arsenal finish, and he will compete in the for Arsenal, and hopefully he will be joining us going forward. But yeah, that was the press conference. Everyone is back. Everyone is fit, apart from Rob Holding, Mohamed Elneny, and those sort of people. But apart from that, it's the full playing 11 that Arsenal currently have. We have all the players available. So today we'll be discussing all the playing 11 possible, the formation that Arsenal will have to play to in the Burnley game. Do we go back three? Do we go back four? Which formation will suit Arsenal going forward? And that sort of stuff we will be discussing with Bruce, and we will also give the predicted score line, and maybe get a little spicy, and initiative between me and Bruce, and let's see who wins that predicted lineup. But enough of that. Today we are here to have a opinion regarding one of the experts, Bruce, that joins us from Rwanda, and he's a massive positive Arsenal fan, and he's been supporting Arsenal for quite a few times. So let's welcome Bruce. Hey Bruce, welcome to the channel. Thank you for taking the necessary time, and yeah, welcome to the channel. How are you doing today?
I'm very good. I'm very good, Dushyant. So thanks for having me on your talk show. I'm really looking forward to this. This is my first time discussing. I normally go on Twitter and interact with you and other people like George and Robin, but I have never done like a live stream like this. So this is very well appreciated.
I mean, it's the first time for everything, isn't that right, mate? But as our love for Arsenal remains constant, so that's one thing that remains constant. So before we talk about the Burnley versus Arsenal stuff, let's talk about you and your Arsenal journey, and give a little insight on how you got involved with Arsenal and your support and when you got started. Yeah, tell us about it.
So yeah, thanks, man. So I started actually quite young because I mean I've always loved football. As far as I can remember, in primary school. I mean, I wasn't very good, but everyone wanted to play football. So around and then so the World Cup 1998 happened. I was a kid. I was in primary school. So then it happened, and I happened to support France. A lot of people in my country really wanted like Brazil to win and everything, but I always liked France. We grew up and we were learning in French at the time and everything. So I was quite like very well interested in France, the culture and everything. But to me, what really stood out for me for the French national team at the time, it was for this. It was the only European team at the time you could see black people playing. The Desai, Tiram. So I supported France. They won all the way, and then I found out that people like Emmanuel Petit, like they played for Arsenal, and Vieira, of course, and then of course
Mhm.
then we bought Henry. Anelka didn't go to the World Cup, but he was also playing
Mhm.
for Arsenal. And then I find out, Arsene Wenger is also French. He was very
Mhm.
well admired, in France. So in fact, I started supporting Arsenal because of the French players, because I
So
supported the Le Bleu, the French national team. That's how I ended up supporting Arsenal. So the post 98 World Cup. So that's how I
mhm.
became, an Arsenal fan. I was very young, but we could watch the highlights and everything. We couldn't watch the games like live and
Mhm.
everything, but there was this show on the local TV where they showed the highlights, and so like, yeah. So
Mhm.
that's how I started, supporting Arsenal. Yeah, yeah, like
So
98.
98, that's a long time. That's
Yeah,
longer than
that's a
me.
long time. I was very
Yeah,
young though. So I
yeah,
was
yeah,
very young, but still like, like
yeah.
something like there were all these other big teams like Real Madrid and whatever,
Mhm.
but still I felt this thing, like this attraction to Arsenal, like I couldn't even explain. But as you
Mhm.
grow up, now you start to understand some of the football tactics, because of course of Wenger, the beautiful game, the way we played, the
Mhm.
technical ability, and then there were all these values that Arsene Wenger incarnated, this
Yeah, yeah.
class, the intelligence, the elegance. It was something really like you couldn't. I don't really
You
know
can't
who
explain
else you
it
could
actually.
associate.
Yeah, yeah, I understand.
Yeah,
It was
exactly.
this.
Yeah,
It was the
yeah,
same for me as well when I first started, watching Arsenal. So it was like that special connection that I felt attached to the club. So in your case, it was the French connection. For me, it was the football, or you also said that technical ability that Wenger produced for Arsenal. So that was the kind of the instant click that made you
yeah,
just fall in love with Arsenal. And yeah, so
yeah.
excited to
Exactly.
hear about your journey regarding the Arsenal stuff. And I know that I have been in touch with you and on Twitter and contacting you and knowing that your opinions, and it's good to know that we have still have some positive gooners on social
Yeah,
media, because
definitely.
because it's
Yeah,
very tough to find positivity on social media these days. So thank you for sticking at Arsenal and giving your positive opinions and good criticism when it is required. So that is main positive. As Arsenal's the tagline or the motto is victory through harmony. So we have to respect
through
that and
harmony. Yes.
maintain that. Yeah, so that's a good thing. So enough of that, and it's good to know how your journey started. Let's talk about the Burnley versus Arsenal match preview, and let's get
Yeah,
into the meat of it. And first, we'll discuss about the new defensive unit, the new back five or back four, as you can call it. They made their first appearance previously against Norwich City. Aaron Ramsdale, Tomayasu at the right back, Ben White, Gabriel Magalhaes, and Kieran Tierney. What did you make of all these four players? And yeah, give me your feedback on how you felt when they played their first game all together.
yeah. So listen, like I'm going to sound really like maybe way too positive on this one, because this is a
No, no,
back
no.
five. I am very excited to see this.
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
because I honestly don't think like all of these people, they are 24 and below.
Hmm.
They have the technical ability, they have
Hmm.
the physicality, they have the
Hmm.
discipline and the attitude. I think Arsene Wenger used to always say this thing, I think nowadays, after things got worse, in terms of attitude and stuff, that's when people started, realizing. But he always said that talent wasn't good enough. You always
Hmm.
needed to have a positive attitude, he used to call it. You know,
Hmm.
any of these guys, you couldn't go any wrong in terms of attitude. Let's forget about technical ability and whatever.
Hmm.
Attitude, you feel like these are disciplined, hardworking,
Hmm.
very likable people, very, I mean, you've seen, like, even on social media, it's not just because they're playing well, it's because people are genuinely feel like, oh, these are good guys, and like, they have this vibe. I genuinely think one of the things they have done in terms of recruiting, they have also not just looked at the technical ability and how you fit into the
Hmm.
system, but as a person, who are
Hmm.
you as a person? And it always goes to that kind of, like, he's a nice guy, he's laid back, he's likable essentially, and he has that positive attitude. If he's benched, he'll work harder and get into the team. Because, for
Hmm.
example, let's pick like Gabriel. He had a really nice start to the season last season until he got COVID, and he essentially lost his place to Murray.
Hmm.
But you never saw him on social media complaining, ever.
Yeah, yeah.
Not in interviews, nowhere. He just kept at it, kept his head down. He wasn't doing very well, but he stayed. He stayed.
Hmm.
So I think that attitude you can associate with any of these people. I guess you could see how, like, the crowd at Emirates, how they just took to Tomiyasu, who had just arrived. They just
Hmm.
loved him just because, the little bit of interviews, the attitude, the passion he shows, and everything. So yeah, so these guys. So for me, so Norwich was essentially, I was really surprised because I didn't think I thought Arteta would play it safe, for example, and
Hmm.
maybe put Lams there on the bench, but he went full, let's reshape our defensive lineup, and I was
Hmm.
all for it. And
Hmm.
any of these guys, like, I wasn't really surprised. Like, I didn't know Tomiyasu
Hmm.
at all. I'm going to be honest with you. But as soon as we were linked to him and it looked like it would be really serious that we could get him, I started
Hmm.
looking into it. And then I came across this article. I even tweeted it, where they really made a thorough analysis of him and everything. And you could feel, even before he kicked the ball, like, this guy fits into Arteta systems. Whatever the
Hmm.
case, this guy fits. And so I wasn't really surprised about their performance at all. I know Norwich is right now not doing very well. They're at the bottom of the league, but, like, really, like, the quality they had, like, reading the game, the passing ability. Like, you looked at
Hmm.
Ramsdale. Like, there was no fear. Like, when he passed, like, when they pressed, he could just pick out, short passes, medium passes. He went
Yeah.
long, then wide. So this is a back five. I'm really excited to see how they evolve because they're still very young, and they
Yeah.
will get better essentially. Yeah, they will get better into the system, and they will get better individually. So this is a really defensive unit. I'm very, very excited. I don't think we've ever had a very strong back five like
Hmm.
this. Like, there was always one would have maybe like a two good fullbacks and one center, but this is for the first time since maybe like 2002. It's for the first time I can say we have a really strong back five in any
Hmm.
positions, at least these starters, you know.
Hmm.
So I'm really looking forward to see them evolve essentially.
Hmm. And
Yeah.
especially there was a tweet from a journalist right now who covers Arsenal, and he did some calculations, and according to him, this back four that we have got this year is the tallest back four we have
Oh
had
yeah.
for some time. So that tells you the process or the the background checks that we have made or the players that we have brought in are there is some process, there is some thinking, there is some equation that is going on behind the screens. And as some of the experts, footballing experts, have said that Arsenal's transfer strategy hasn't been spot on. I think that is way wrong. even though they make some sense sometimes, but on this term, I have to inform that they are completely wrong about the transfer strategy regarding Arsenal.
No, I completely agree. In fact, I think this is one of the best transfer windows at the
I'm
very
getting
because
I'm
without
getting some voice from your end. Can you proceed?
yeah, it's raining like crazy. sorry,
Oh, okay.
sorry about
No,
that.
no
Yeah,
problem,
so
no
it's
problem,
the
no
rain.
problem. Okay,
So
continue, continue.
so so I think so for a very long time. So
Mhm,
like I really like I said like I grew up watching Arsenal. I was a young kid, so I really idolized Wenger. And one
mhm,
of his strong uh, um, traits was to identify good young players, right?
mhm,
Very talented. And
mhm,
that's one of the things in his later years. It's one of the things we lacked.
mhm.
Arsene Wenger was no longer like, identifying really great talent, because you look at the money we spent on Mustafi, I don't want to go into that. But I mean, you look at these signings and you
Hmm.
look like Arsene Wenger could have made these signings. Well, maybe with
Hmm.
the exceptions of the English players, because you
Yeah.
always said like they were too expensive. It's not that you didn't
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
buy them, but he always said they come at a premium, and at the time we were quite frankly broke. We couldn't
Hmm.
pay the money. But if
Hmm.
he'd been in that position, you look at these young guys, people like Tomiyasu, they are
Hmm.
even if maybe if you go a little bit in the midfield, like a signing like Lokonga, that looks
Hmm.
like out of Wenger's playbook.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So so
Exactly.
so these guys who are saying like we don't have a strategy, the strategy was very clear:
Yeah.
24 and
Yeah.
below, young
Yeah.
talented people who can
Hmm.
improve, who fits the
Hmm.
system, who actually
Hmm.
didn't cost much, with the exception of the English lads, because of course they come with an English premium. There's nothing
Hmm.
you can do about it. But the
Yeah.
strategy was very, very clear. And Arteta
Yeah.
mentioned this. He said we could have gambled and signed three players, three big
Hmm.
players with that money. But he said no.
Hmm.
We said like no, no more short-term fixes. Let's go
Hmm.
long. It's a project. Let's give it time. And
Yeah.
in order doing so, yeah, you have to sign these young players. And by the way, these people, they might not be experienced in the Premier League, but they
Hmm.
have some experience, even though they are young. They have played quite
Hmm.
a lot. So these are not your newbies, like, oh,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
they have like 1 season and a half, or maybe two at a high level. So it's okay. So it makes sense actually.
Okay.
So the strategy
Yeah.
for me was very, very clear.
I totally agree with that. Okay, next up, we will talk about Obama Yang. I think that he has to be leading from the front. Yeah, the season has gotten
I
started, and he looks very, on point, and looks like that he wants to lead Arsenal from the front. He looks engaged. He looks like the fans that who are back in the stadium have brought something back for him. Do you agree with that statement? And do you think that he's ready to lead Arsenal back from the front and lead us to top four or top six this season again?
Yeah, so look, I think that okay, maybe he's lost a little bit of pace,
Hmm.
okay? And honestly, I wouldn't judge his last season. He really had these other personal issues, with the family issues, with his mom being ill, catching
Hmm.
COVID. This thing can affect you not just physically but mentally as well.
Hmm.
And so I still think Young, if you create chances for him, he will score. He will get you goals. What I'm
Hmm.
not really sure, will he hit that form, where he was like where he won the Golden Boot and everything. Maybe not, but he won't be that far from it. So if you can get Oba, who is close to that form, who you
Hmm.
create chances for, I think what people didn't realize was Oba was in such high form that
Hmm.
whatever little chances we created, he just
He
scored.
scored. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So my thinking is, if you can now create more, you surround
Hmm.
him with players like
Creators.
Bukayo,
Hmm.
like Martin, like Emil, who are
Hmm.
really technical,
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
high. These guys
Hmm.
have very high technical security.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they create chances for him. And if we
Yeah.
create chances for Aubameyang, I know people said, "Oh, when we played against West Brom, that it was maybe like their reserve
Hmm.
teams and everything." But if you create chances for Aubameyang, he will score. It shows
Yeah.
that when he goes to play for Gabon, Aubameyang will score goals. If you, I don't know if it will be because when back then he was in his super form, he was in the form of his life. I'm not really sure he will be at that level, but Aubameyang will still score you, he will get you goals guaranteed. You create chances for him, he will take them. I'm
Yeah.
not like I'm really convinced about that.
Yeah, but because next up is Burnley, and his record against Burnley has been quite significant for the past meetings. And I truly hope that
Yeah,
he can score a brace or a hat trick for us tomorrow, and that's what I'm hoping for. Hopefully, not an own
yeah,
goal again,
hopefully,
not an own goal, not an own
hopefully,
goal.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
hopefully, yeah. But anyways, let's talk about the midfield area, the party Lukonga pivot. That this is the looking like the prominent pivot that is going to be happen versus Burnley. Do you think this is the possibility we will be having in the midfield area, the Thomas Party and Lukonga, or do you see that Mikel Arteta won't rush Party immediately and may play like maybe a Maitland Lyles in the midfield area? What's your take on
So,
that?
So honestly, this is the ideal.
Yeah,
I think after watching the Watford, was it the Watford preseason?
yeah. Watford PC.
Even though we knew Xhaka was coming back and everything, and by the way, Xhaka with Partey, it also works. It really
Mm-hmm.
does work. But of course, we want to move to a better player who's better on the half turn, who can dribble, who can get out of the press, who passes with both feet and everything. So
Mm-hmm.
to me, the question will be: we, will Arteta think that does he think Partey is fit enough to
Yeah.
start? So
Mm-hmm.
after, if he is fit enough to start, I think
Mm-hmm.
he will pick. I think he'll go for Lokonga because
Mm-hmm.
essentially there's no way you can say this kid is good enough to play against Chelsea, and then you
Mm-hmm.
bench El Neni, or who
Mm-hmm.
is okay. He might not be as technical as Lokonga, but he's there in terms of experience and the
Yeah,
work
yeah.
rate, and
Mm-hmm.
especially like Chelsea is going to dominate the possession, but still you field Lokonga. Okay, so it wouldn't make any sense to drop him, especially when
Yeah.
Thomas Partey is back. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if he is
Yeah.
back, if a kid you trust enough to put in against Chelsea, when you know they
Mm-hmm.
will dominate you, you should
Mm-hmm.
be able, in theory, to trust him to play him against Burnley because we know we are going to dominate the possession. We also know going from last season that these guys
Mm-hmm.
will look to press us, and we know
Yeah.
very well that he is very good at resisting the press. Lokonga, he will
Mm-hmm.
dribble, he doesn't rush, he picks good options, he can run with the ball, he can pass with his right, with his left. So
Mm-hmm.
it would really makes perfect sense. But my other concern was, you remember he came back with an, I don't know, with like an ego or something. So that's why he
Mm-hmm.
didn't finish the game, the
Yeah, yeah.
Norwich game. So
Yeah.
would that play into Arteta's mind? But there
Mm.
is no doubt in my mind that now that Eneni is out with
Hmm.
injury and Xhaka is
Xhaka is
suspended,
suspended.
if
Yeah.
Lokong yeah, he's suspended. So if both Lokonga and Partey are fit to
Hmm.
start,
They should
I'm
start.
pretty sure he will start with them. Yeah, they
Yeah, yeah,
should.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. I totally agree with you. Next up, let's talk about Nicolas Pepe. I have put him as the player to watch out for Arsenal against Burnley, especially because of their left back, who's I guess Neil Taylor is his name. I guess he is very susceptible, and that's where most of the Everton goals came from. I guess the left hand side or the middle ground. And I think that Pepe would be the most likely player that will cause most problems to Burnley. Do you agree with that? And do you think he's the one we should, the flank we should be using the most against Burnley?
So now this is a hard one. I have to admit, this is a hard
Hmm.
one because I really love my boy Saka,
Yeah.
but you think that So first of all, in these kinds of games, these guys,
Hmm.
you know what they will do. They will,
Yeah.
they will defend in numbers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Try to close spaces. So that's
Hmm.
why I think that maybe so it becomes a bit tricky because here's what we know. We know Pepe can get us goals once he is
Hmm.
in that area. Once you allow him, like, hey, can you make it so that he gets into those areas when he can cut it onto his left and
Hmm.
bend the ball. You know, so
Hmm.
but as well, it's against Burnley. They are very well
Hmm.
drilled. They have this really tough defensive shape, which is very hard to break. So my thinking here is ideally Saka should be starting. Why?
Hmm.
Because he's much more adept into playing into those tight spaces. He
Hmm.
really, I mean, Saka attacks space like crazy. And
Hmm.
with him, he doesn't have, like, I know people who want to make fun of Nicola Pepe, say he's a one trick guy. He
Yeah.
cuts onto
Yeah.
his left foot and bend it. But okay, so what? But it works. It's not
Yeah.
like he,
Yeah.
he, he he does it and then send it into the stadium. It works.
Hmm.
And in a period where we need goals, and
Hmm.
Aubameyang isn't scoring like the way he used to, this is
Hmm.
worth a shout. Okay, he is a worth shout because Pepe has goal in him. I think so. Look, I think I have come to the conclusion that, look, you look at Saka's game. Saka is
Yeah.
going to be one of the best wingers like in the world in
Hmm.
around 18 to 2 years, guaranteed.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, and then people, because Pepe costs so much, they
Hmm.
want him to be as good as Saka, basically, or maybe
Hmm.
better in terms
Hmm.
of the all-around game. I
Hmm.
have come to terms that Pepe will never have a good all-around game as good
Hmm.
as Saka.
Hmm.
That's just not possible. But
Hmm.
that does not mean we cannot better utilize him, use some
Hmm.
of his other strengths, which is
Yeah.
basically what he does for you. He can destabilize defenses, and he can get you goals,
Hmm.
essentially, and on good occasions assist, because that's why Pepe weakness is his decision making isn't really good.
Yeah,
For
his
me,
decision making, his footballing IQ, his
yes,
sometimes
it's
his
not
first touch, it's not up to the level as Bukayo Saka,
exact.
but his but
Agreed.
his but his lethal, goal scoring ability and his assist making is top notch. So that's why
He
the
really
only
does
reason
that.
is, yeah. So
Yeah.
that's the
So that's
only reason I'm
mm,
going to start Pepe. The only reason
you would
because
pick
of
Pepe ahead of Saka, right?
no, no. I will start both of them. That's why we will get onto the predicted lineups and score right now, right at this moment. And let's get
Yeah.
on to the predicted lineup. What will be your formation? So let's start with that.
Um,
What will be your
Now
formation?
that one, I think, by the way, the key is there's, like, we agree on the back five, right? I guess the
Yeah,
back
yeah, yeah,
five that
yeah.
started against Norwich, it should be
Hmm.
starting against Burnley. I
Hmm.
think, in fact, and we agree also on the double pivot. I think the only thing remaining is, do you
Is the
start?
top three?
Yes. Do you start? I mean, do you drop Smith Rowe for Pepe?
Hmm.
Essentially, that's the only debate.
Hmm.
And for
Yeah,
me,
it's interesting because
I'm
we
going to
also
go.
have Martin Odegaard as well. So it will be
Yeah. So
interesting
yes, you
to
could
see.
also, yes, exactly. So you could as well drop Odegaard and start
Hmm.
Smith Rowe. But in a
Hmm.
game like Burnley, when you know these people are going to completely close the space, you cannot
Hmm.
drop Odegaard because he's
Yeah.
that guy who gives you those through balls and everything. So you cannot really drop Odegaard in such a game.
Hmm.
So the only dynamic that is left is, hey, do you because Smith Rowe actually creates a lot. When you look at the
Hmm.
dribbles, the key passes, he really creates a lot. But him
Hmm.
and Saka, they are not yet at the level. They are goal scorers, right? In academies, they scored
Do
all
you
the way.
think? Do you think there is a chance that Smith, Odegaard, and Partey start in the pivot area, and then we play someone like Smith Rowe and Saka ahead of them? Is there any chance we start with that, or we bring
Mm,
them on later on? Maybe
no,
that's how
I
I go.
wouldn't. I wouldn't go, because that would mean like we are going all the way out attack against
Yeah, yeah,
Burnley.
yeah, yeah,
So I
yeah.
like the way we ended with the Norwich game, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't think
exactly.
that's the formation that starts.
Hmm. It's
What,
very difficult
what
to play select the attacking players right now in the predicted lineup
I know, which is a
because
good thing, right?
yeah, yeah, which is a
Which is
good
a
thing.
good thing because you
But
want quality, you want a headache.
okay, give me your predicted lineup. We are going with
So
the
my
back five
predicted
formation.
lineup, I think Arteta will go with the same lineup essentially, except he
So
will
same,
pick Partey
same.
in the position of Niles basically. He would
Okay,
drop
so same
Niles.
lineup.
He would drop Niles. Yes,
Okay.
just drop Niles and then add Thomas Partey. It will
Hmm.
be essentially the same lineup. I think Emil Smith Rowe will start on the bench.
Hmm.
And then if one of the two between Pepe and Saka will be dropped, I mean will be replaced, maybe in the second half or something, or depending on the score. Because what's interesting is this. I mean, if you are losing, for example, God forbid,
Hmm.
if you are 1-0 down, what do? You drop Lokonga, essentially,
Hmm.
you add Smith Rowe, you
Hmm.
essentially almost go now to a 4-4, sorry, a 4-3-3, right? Which is
Hmm.
very
Yeah, yeah.
attack
Which is
minded.
attacking.
So
Hmm.
I also suspect that Arteta likes these options, right? But
Yeah.
maybe
Hmm.
if you're winning 2-0, maybe you drop,
Hmm.
so maybe you drop either Pepe or Odegaard for Smith Rowe.
Hmm.
So there is that dynamic as well, not just
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
who is in form, but who can impact the game if we need a goal, or who
Definitely.
can impact the game if we need to keep the possession and
Hmm.
stuff like that. So that
Yeah.
dynamic is also there.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting. So you will be going with a 4-2-3-1 formation. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. So
Okay,
just
that's
basically
interesting.
only replacing the
That's
yeah.
interesting because I was having some doubts in my mind to go
Mm,
even back three formation because I'll tell you why. The reason is
mm.
basically because I'm worried about their front two men in the form of Chris Wood and Ashley
Chris
Barn.
Wood and
And
Andras Urban
yeah, overpowering, maybe Ben White because his aerial ability lacks so much. So I was
in the air,
considering,
right?
yeah, so I was considering playing like Tomayasu, Ben White, and Gabriel across the back three area, and then putting Niles on the right back wing back area, and Tierney at the left wing back. We go with Thomas Partey and Lukonga in the middle, and then ahead striker wise we know Oba is going to start, and the wing positions could be maybe a little problematic as to who we start. I think we start with Smith Rowe and Saka. That's how we roll with it.
Yeah, I see that as a possibility. By the way, that could be very
Yeah.
interesting. So you start with
Hmm.
a back three, which is
Hmm.
very strong in the air, right?
Yeah,
Essentially,
yeah.
because if you take a
And
Gabriel and
if we score
Tomiyasu,
the first goal, then by the halftime
we
we
can
can
open
change
up,
back to
right?
the back four.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
interesting. Though,
Hmm.
who did you
Yeah.
say with? So like back three of Ben White, Tomiyasu, and Gabriel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that
then
could be interesting as well. By the way,
yeah,
because
because then
because you know for
Tamuyasu
sure
is
the
great.
set
Yeah.
pieces.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And if you remember,
Yeah,
Burnley like to take their throw-ins, long throw-ins, and the corners are also highly susceptible. And this is an
yeah, I
interesting game
see.
to make a case for Rob Holding as well, because he likes those aerial abilities and his physical play as well is quite good. So you can
Yeah,
make his case as well. But
no,
yeah, but
actually, I'm not really sure. I know, like, by the way, so I think yesterday, just for yesterday, I think there's this another Arsenal fan. I think he should follow him as well. I think his handle is Adam Vogue, Adam
yeah, yeah,
something.
I
Maybe
follow him. I follow
yes,
him. Yeah.
he does really nice analysis and stuff.
Radars. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
yes, so he is like also a very top guy. I think if you're an Arsenal fan to follow, I think he was doing some analysis of our center back and the ability in the air.
Hmm.
And not surprisingly, I think David Luiz was better. And
Hmm.
what surprised me was that, like, Gabriel in the
Hmm.
Premier League, he hasn't. Okay, you can say he hasn't done very well, but
Hmm.
he wasn't in the 70th percentile, And Rob
Hmm.
Holding numbers were not, they were very low as well. They
Hmm.
were like 58, what, 60, 58% or something like that. I would have to look back at the tweet. But
Hmm.
this thing where we think like Rob Holding dominates in the year, I think
Hmm.
it wasn't true. It's just it was usually paired with Gabriel or David Luiz, right?
Hmm.
Which who are really, really, really strong in the air. So we never realize, we never like, because we think of Rob Holding as a low block defender. We automatically we automatically think he is also very good dominant in the air. Rob Holding apparently isn't very dominant in the air. It's something I found out almost recently. Statistics always, show you something and you're like, wait, what? Yeah, I genuinely thought Rob Holding was at least on the same level as Gabriel in terms of dominating in there, or very close.
Hmm.
But there is some distance because one I think stood at maybe like 64%, and Rob
Hmm.
Holding was around what, like 58%. If
Hmm.
the funny thing, like when you look at Ben White numbers from last season, they were almost close to Rob Holding numbers because he was also in the 50s, not high 50s, but the difference wasn't that huge as as Arsenal fans would perceive. But
Yeah.
so
So
like
we have got
definitely
a
maybe
first
Pablo
comment.
Mari.
Yeah, we've got a first comment. Say Ria, she's saying that Bruce sounds very sure of the player. So should we accept Arsenal to turn up properly in the big fixtures? Asking as someone who knows nothing about the Arsenal men. Well, Ria, we are not sure right now
Yeah,
about Arsenal turning up for the
yeah.
big
Which
fixtures.
Arsenal
But
team we will see?
yeah,
So look, listen, I am very hopeful. I know we started badly, although it
yeah,
wasn't that. So the only really result that shocked us was Brentford. But even when you put it into when you put the Brentford loss into perspective, I
hmm.
wouldn't say it wasn't that. I think that is a game that should have ended like 1-1, basically a nil,
I
one
think the
one or 2-2 or
game shouldn't
something.
haven't taken place because of the COVID
Yes, the game should
situation.
have taken place,
Yeah,
but clearly the second goal was a foul on Bentley, no?
yeah,
Okay. And
obviously.
before they got
Even
the second,
if you saw Jurgen Klopp's interview, he asked the interviews as well, the ones
exactly.
that, what do you think about that foul, and he was like, yes, in my opinion it's a foul. And yeah, I really loved that interview by Jurgen Klopp asking the interviews whether he thinks that was a foul or not. So that was a good thing upon us part.
Yeah,
But
agreed.
yeah,
So
what can we do? Again, Ria is back and saying that back your team, you guys. We are hopeful,
So
but
no, we are definitely. But look, I think like I'm not really what I think last season you had you didn't know which Arsenal you would get,
yeah,
especially in the Europa League. It was
yeah,
very
yeah,
painful. You
yeah,
could get an Arsenal team that comes and blows your mind away, or you could
yeah,
get an Arsenal team that comes and maybe blows your mind away, but it was riddled with individual errors.
yeah,
But I
yeah,
look at these the guys who are playing right now,
yeah.
and
Hmm.
like they're not that like they're disciplined. So I am like the only thing I'm worried is Burnley going to bully us basically
Hmm.
in the air, right? But in terms of making silly mistakes and giving basically passing the opponent the ball, I'm not worried about that anymore.
I mean,
Especially with
you
the
can look at
is
the
arriving.
last goal that we gave Burley, the free goal that Jaka gave, and
Yo,
I saw you tweeting that as well right now.
yeah, it
Apparently,
was
yeah, that was
very
a stupid mistake by
it was
Granit
a
Xhaka
really
as well,
stupid goal because
and
you look at oh
yeah,
yeah.
because we were
Yeah,
having a great game so far against Burnley that
I
game, if
know
you
we were
remember.
winning that game, right?
Yeah,
We were
yeah,
definitely winning that game before
yeah,
that goal came. And then
yeah,
when once we conceded that goal, Leno panicked. Xhaka was
yeah.
clearly in the so everything, the structure was like non-existent anymore.
Okay.
The second half was painful. But even that game, by the way, even though we had given away that goal, we missed some clear cut
Yeah,
chances. some
Oh,
clear chances in that game in the second half, like two or three, and of course there was the disallowed penalty and everything. So that Burnley, that's why I think there are some people who only like watch the highlights, or just maybe I don't even know, because if you'd watched that game, anyone who watched that game knew we dominated that game. We had some two, three good chances. That's why we really suffered. Without Aubameyang scoring last season, we really suffered because some of those chances you knew if they had they had fallen on the Aubameyang of before, we win that goal. I mean that game like 4-2 or 4-1 or whatever, easily.
I mean, Ria
But
is asking, isn't Jaka out with injury right now? No, Ria, he
no,
isn't out with an injury.
it's
He's
just
suspended
suspended.
right now because of a red card. So he will be back against who exactly? Crystal Palace, right? Yeah, he will be back against Crystal
So
Palace.
against
Or
Crystal Palace, our next fixture is what? Tottenham? Is it going to be Spurs
let me check. AFC
or
fixture.
Wolves?
Next fixture we have got against Wimbledon, so he will miss that as well. So that will
Oh no!
count out, I
Oh yeah!
guess.
Oh yeah! That one counts, by the way. Oh, I'd forgotten. I'd forgotten about the
Yeah,
Carabao Cup one.
yeah. So
Yeah, that
he
counts
will
as
be
well.
back. Yeah, so he will be back for the Arsenal
So he'll be
Tottenham game.
back
Yeah,
against.
Arsenal
So
Tottenham
the
Tottenham
yeah
game.
for the
Yeah,
there are some Tottenham game. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. He was out because of COVID, basically, and then because he's suspended. Because if you
yeah,
looked, he was even in the training video, the training pictures recently. He
yeah,
is
yeah,
back in England, so
yeah.
he's okay. He's recovered from COVID.
Ria is asking also, does the team lack a proper nine, like a pacey, intense number nine? I mean, yes, Arsenal
Uh,
are currently looking for a number nine for the next summer. There, Bruce has mentioned this Adam guy on Twitter has made a short list. If he can, uh, the many strikers that we are looking at, and I'm very excited by Napoli striker Osaman. Maybe you know a
yeah,
thing or two
Osimhen.
about, yeah.
Yeah,
So I'm excited
elected.
about that. But right now, Ria, we do have our captain Aubameyang, who is also lost a bit of his composure
Yeah,
and
with goal
finishing, but
scoring.
I,
Yeah.
I still think that there is a still little bit of fight left in him. I think he can still
No, it
take
is.
Arsenal. Yeah, yeah, go on, go on.
No, so oh yeah, so it is true. He's lost a little bit of his scoring touch, but he will
Hmm.
score goals if we create enough chances. For
Hmm.
sure, Oba still has it. The thing is, we are moving because everything with Arteta is
Hmm.
how do you fit it into the system. What
Yeah,
we
yeah.
really have right now, Oba isn't like the way we bought Tomiyasu, and he comes and you can see, or Ben White, and you can see this is exactly why he bought him. So
Hmm.
eventually we'll need to sign a center forward
Striker.
that fits
Hmm.
into how Arteta wants to play
Yeah,
specifically. Because really what really Oba brings to us right now is the goals. If you
yeah,
ask, is he the typical center forward Arteta would want in his system? The answer is simply no. But is he the guy who scores goals for you when you create chances? The answer is yes. And he has
yeah. Hmm.
experience, he's proven it in different leagues. So yeah, Oba can score goals, will get goals, but yes, we will need to get a center forward that fits into Arteta's system for sure.
Yeah. Ria is asking, but do you think Oba's performance might go into full gear if he has competition in that position? I mean, we are not at that point really right now in the terms of a rebuild where we can get a suitable enough, competition for Obama. We do have Lacazette, Balogan, Martinelli.
Martinelli, yeah.
So these are the players that we do have right now. But yes, next summer is the prime time, or even January. I don't think we will buy a striker in January, but yeah, the next summer is the opportunity to buy striker. I mean, I'm dreaming of someone like a Haaland. I know it's a big dream, it's a large dream. It
Yeah,
won't
Haaland.
happen. it won't happen. But yeah, one can dream hopefully that somehow Odegaard convinces him and he can come at Arsenal.
Yeah.
So there,
Yeah.
that's the only link that I've got regarding him. But
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So, but I think in the end, I'm not really sure though. That one is going to be. I think he is right, but because I think at some point you have to prioritize, right? You have to
Hmm.
prioritize because I mean, you think okay, you have Oba. If even
Hmm.
if you get money, it's more likely that he will spend it on, let's say, a more experienced player who can replace Xhaka and partner with
Hmm.
Partey. If
Hmm.
you say like what are the priorities, right? You'd say
Hmm.
okay, another central midfielder who
Hmm.
would be a really better partner for Thomas Partey because you still have Aubameyang who can get you goals. But eventually, we all know that we will get a centre forward, so that we don't put too much pressure on the young strikers like Balogun and Martinelli. So
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
go out, you buy another 24 years. That's why I thought the links to Lautaro Martinez were definitely there was something into it because he fits the profile in terms of technical ability, in terms of running the channels, linking up the play, the
I mean,
age.
even there
The
was
age.
a Tammy Abraham that we missed an good
Exactly. The
opportunity,
Tammy
and
Abraham. Wait,
he's.
when
I mean,
he
if you
also
look
fits
at
the
the
profile,
comments
right?
of Arsenal fans, making fun of him and his failed comps that they, social media were.
Yeah.
I was having none of it because he's a great striker. He has great potential to be one of the best strikers around, football. And I think at Roma, he's gonna explode into a real top striker.
He's
Yeah.
definitely he is going to rule in Italy. The only thing, my only concern was that should we have really spent? I mean, were we really going to spend? For me, I didn't question his talent. What I thought was
Hmm.
like, can we really spend
The
40
money, the
million
money.
on the? Oh
Hmm.
yes, the money. But in the end, Chelsea held firm, and Roma paid essentially.
Yeah.
Roma
Hmm.
were claiming they were so broke they couldn't pay for Xhaka.
Fair. Yeah, yeah.
20 million.
I mean,
They paid 40 million. I don't know whether it's euros or pound, but they
yeah,
paid. It
yeah,
wasn't a lot, it wasn't anything. They paid the full the asking price.
yeah.
And I think what really made the price high was you thought like I think he had 1 year remaining, 1 year or
Hmm.
2 years remaining, and you thought
Two
like,
years,
oh,
I think. It was two
he had
years, I
two
think.
years remaining, and you thought like, wow, 40 million pounds for someone who has 2 years remaining. But I think this guy. I remember when Frank Lampard arrived in Chelsea,
Hmm.
he really proved he could play at the highest level and score goals,
Hmm.
consistently. Later on, and then you knew he was still developing, so he would reach another level, basically. So yeah, yeah. So I don't know whether Arsenal goes back for him. I suspect someone like I don't know, like Lautaro Martinez or maybe Isaac, maybe those kinds of people. I think Osime would be a very interesting proposition, a great proposition. Yeah, but like I don't think there is a shortage of strikers in Europe
At, yeah,
right
yeah.
now. I think a good deal will turn up. I am sure of that.
Okay, let's end this, today's live stream. I've already taken your lot of time. So let's end with the predicted scoreline for Burnley versus Arsenal and the players you are going to pick for the score.
Mm.
Give me your prediction.
So I'm going for like a 3-1. Okay.
You
I'm
stole
going
my
for
prediction actually. I was also
you
going with a
was
3
going to
1.
say 3-1. I'm going
Oh,
to
yeah,
say
yeah, definitely.
3-1 Oba with 2 goals and Pepe with one. Basically, I don't know who will
Bruce,
provide the
are you
assists.
reading my mind or what right now?
I do,
Because
I man,
I'm
I'm
actually going
using
to
some
was
Jedi
going.
techniques.
Yeah, you
I'm
are
using,
using some Jedi techniques because you read my mind. Because I was
so
going to exactly say the same thing. Oba will score 2 goals and Pepe will score 1 goal, and
one
we
goal, right?
will.
You see,
Yeah, yeah,
and then we
yeah,
probably concede like a header or something like that.
yeah, yeah,
For
something like
sure,
that
if it's
because you
not
always
like
do.
3-1, it will be like 2-1.
Yeah, yeah,
Or worst case scenario, maybe 1-1 because
yeah,
Burnley can defend.
yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, and if they score first, we would be in trouble because then it
Yeah, we
would
will.
be
We
forced
have to
to.
score first. We have to
We
score first.
have to score first. If we score
Yeah.
first, then we will have a very good chance. Because if you have the technical ability, because they would now have to attack, they would get out of the blocks and attack. And once you have the likes of Odegaard on the pitch who can get you the through balls and everything, then you have a chance to finish off the game
Hmm.
because
Uh, Ria,
they will create
Ria is
for you.
saying I was gonna say 2-0 with absolutely no context.
No
2-0 to
context.
who? Arsenal or Burnley? I don't know what you are saying 2-0 to, but
2-0 to the
I will
Arsenal.
take
Oh,
2-0 to the Arsenal because Burnley, I don't want to want them to win against us. So
yeah,
thank you.
they took 4 points away from us. These are games we have to win this season, by the way.
Hmm.
You know,
Uh,
definitely.
uh, okay, thank you for coming on the stream, Bruce. If you want to tell all the viewers where they can find you on Twitter or the social media, and
Uh,
where they can
all
find you
right.
if they want to find
So
you.
I'm only on Twitter,
Hmm.
Ernino at 25.
Hmm.
So that's why you can find me. That's the usually the only social media platform I follow. I don't
Hmm.
have my own YouTube channel or anything like that. I usually follow, like when you said experts, I laughed because I do not consider myself an expert. I consider people like George experts, in football matters. So for me, I'm just usually interacting with, other positive Arsenal fans like you and George and
I mean,
Adam
you
and
a huge shout
Robin.
out to George because he's a great fellow and he has a great footballing brain and
Yeah, yeah. So I
opinions.
usually,
And I also follow him and he's a great guy. Hopefully one
yeah,
day I can get him on the channel as well.
yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. I think he's a cool guy. You should just really ask him if I'm sure
yeah,
if
yeah.
he has some time to spare. I'm sure he would definitely show up. And I would love
Hopefully,
as well to be on that stream
hopefully.
with alongside him.
So
So I'm
thank
at Earnino 25. Yeah, so
Hmm.
that's it.
So thank you, Bruce, for taking your time. We almost had 30 minutes of your time, special time
Yeah,
for me, and coming on my channel and your first live stream as well. So hopefully we do this sometime as well going forward.
yeah,
Maybe with George in as well, and we can interact and get to know more about and
yeah.
discuss more football.
Yeah,
Thank you, man.
absolutely. Yeah, thank you, Dushyant. Thanks. This was great, man. Thanks very much.
Yeah, happy to have you,
Yeah,
man. Take
good.
care and hopefully, come on, you guys. We
Yeah,
win
come on,
3-1.
you can definitely.
Okay, see you, man. See you. Okay, so that was Bruce from Twitter. You can follow him at Hermano25. You can follow me on Twitter as well at DushyantAFC and Instagram Dushyant.afc. You guys, if you guys like today's live stream, please make sure to drop a like, hit the subscribe button, and follow me on all the socials. You can see the ticker right down below on Twitter at DushyantAFC, on Insta at Dushyant.afc. Well, that's it for today's live stream, and hopefully, Arsenal put out a great performance for us tomorrow evening. I guess the match starts 7:30 Indian Standard Time, and I will be putting out my post-match reaction one day later. 5 things I learned after a win or after a defeat. Let's see what happens, and hopefully, Arsenal pulls a win. Come on, you guys! Peace. See you guys. Take care.